The chronicles of history are etched with the iron will and brutal intent of mankind's most infamous dictators. They are portrayed in the annals not only for their regime's rigorous control and tragic devastation, but also by the inevitably dramatic crescendos that marked their demise. A deeper exploration into the end of these despotic rulers uncovers tales wrought with suspense, intrigue, and irony. Let us consider Adolf Hitler, the dictator whose vision of a pure Aryan race led to the atrocities of World War II and the Holocaust, resulting in the loss of millions of lives. Hitler's end came in a bunker underneath the Reich Chancellery in Berlin in April 1945. As Allied forces closed in, the imminent fall of Nazi Germany was apparent. Struggling with obvious defeat, Hitler chose suicide, a Pyrrhic escape, leaving behind a legacy of devastation. Next, we turn our lens to Benito Mussolini, the Italian fascist leader whose reign of terror mirrored that of his Axis ally. Mussolini's downfall was a fall from grace in his own country. Captured by Italian partisans while trying to flee, he was executed and hung upside down in a public square in 1945, symbolizing the complete overthrow of his regime. Joseph Stalin held the Soviet Union in his iron grip, orchestrating purges and famines that took scores of lives. His end came quietly, or so it seemed, when he suffered a stroke in 1953 and was found dead the next day. However, whispers of a conspiracy lingered, speculation of foul play by his close circle, who saw his death as an opportunity to seize power. Enver Hoxha ruled Albania with an unyielding hand, creating a hermit kingdom shrouded in secrecy and isolation. His power only faded with natural causes, as he died peacefully in 1985. Yet, the unyielding grip of his policies echoed long after his death, leaving an isolated, impoverished nation. Kim Jong-il emerged onto the global stage in 1994 as the heir to North Korea's legacy of staunch communism and isolated authoritarian rule. As he assumed power following his father's death, the world turned its gaze toward the enigmatic figure known as Supreme Leader. His reign was marked by the continuation of the oppressive policies that had become synonymous with the North Korean regime. Born under circumstances steeped in mystery, reportedly at a Soviet military base in 1941 where his father served, Kim Jong-il's early life is obscured by secrecy and propaganda. Details about his formative years are sparse, perhaps deliberately, in keeping with the regime's penchant for mystique and control. Nonetheless, the roots of his unwavering supremacy trace back to this lineage. Inheriting a nation ensnared in dire economic straits and grim human rights records, Kim Jong-il was tasked with preserving the cult of personality established by his father. He embraced his role with fervor, ensuring the continuity of an iron-fisted governance that would keep North Korea secluded from the global community. Amidst his authoritarian domestic policies, Kim Jong-il maintained a rigid control over information, ensuring that little about his leadership or life leaked beyond the borders of his isolated nation. His governance was echoed by defiance against global pressures, notably in the pursuit of nuclear capabilities, further entrenching North Korea's position as a pariah state. Under Kim Jong-il, North Korea endured famine, economic hardship, and international sanctions, yet he navigated these challenges through a network of loyalists and ideological fervor, bolstering the cult of Kim not just as a political leader, but as a near-deified figure in North Korean lore. The legacy of Kim Jong-il is etched with contradictions. The portrayal of a cinematically eccentric leader with an affinity for films and grandiose staging, versus the stark realities of a population subjected to severe limitations and repression. His death in 2011 paved the way for his son, Kim Jong-un, to inherit the mantle of leadership, continuing the dynastic tradition of the Kim family at the helm of one of the most secretive and authoritarian regimes in the modern world. In the hermetic landscape of North Korea, where the thick curtains of propaganda obscure the delineations between fiction and reality, a mythical narrative was woven around the figure of Kim Jong-il. Officially, the story was this. Kim was born under auspicious celestial phenomena on February 16, 1942, on the revered Mount Pektu. A new star and a double rainbow were said to have announced his arrival. This story, whether deemed credible or not by the outside world, was cast as a substantial truth within North Korea's borders. The stories surrounding Kim's life were far from ordinary, as anecdotes of his extraordinary feats spread throughout the land. They were intended to cast an aura of divine-like omnipotence upon him. Kim, the narratives relayed, managed an athletic feat impossible for most: 11 holes in one in a single round of golf. Similarly, he was portrayed as a mastermind of art, composing operas lauded by experts in China, a land of ancient artistry. In perhaps the most outlandish of claims, Kim allegedly invented an invisible cell phone, a technological marvel that existed primarily in the imaginations of those who promoted the story. The narrative further extended into the realm of natural phenomena, crediting him with the ability to influence the weather, like a deity commanding the skies and storms. For citizens living under the iron grip of Kim's reclusive administration, engaging with these grandiose tales was akin to an involuntary ritual of loyalty. The choice was clear and stark: accept the unproven myths or confront the perilous consequences of disbelief. It was less about believing and more about the power of enforced conviction, a tool for survival within a system where the danger of dissent loomed large. In the insulated confines of North Korea, reality was malleable, sculpted to fit the regime's convenient narrative. Each person understood, perhaps subconsciously, that questioning or denying these myths was an act that defied not merely the government, but the very structure of existence within North Korea. Thus, the myths persisted, a tapestry woven with the threads of fantasy and fear, looming as a constant backdrop to daily life. The story of Kim Jong-il's extraordinary capabilities was not merely propaganda. It was a cultural construct, a state mythos that demanded adherence as a token of allegiance. It reinforced the narrative of an infallible leadership, one that lay beyond ordinary human capacity and challenged the limits of believability. The rule of Kim Jong-il, the supreme leader of North Korea, is a chapter in history marked by a tragic blend of political oppression, humanitarian crises, and rigid indoctrination. From 1994 until his death in 2011, Kim Jong-il's leadership was characterized by policies that led to widespread famine and systematic human rights abuses, shaping the lives of millions under his iron grip. The journey of Kim Jong-il into the seat of power was paved through the shadows of his father, Kim Il-sung, the founder of the Democratic People's Republic of Korea. Groomed to lead, Kim Jong-il's rise was carefully crafted, painting him as the rightful successor to uphold the ideologies of juche, or self-reliance, that his father had indoctrinated into the national psyche. However, the bright promise of leadership soon crumbled into a nightmare of governance. The late 1990s, known as the Arduous March, exposed the cracks in the facade of North Korea's endurance. A series of natural disasters, coupled with the fall of the Soviet Union and systemic inefficiencies, precipitated a catastrophic famine. It is estimated that close to 2 million lives were lost as the country grappled with severe food shortages. The regime's insistence on maintaining a veil of secrecy compounded the suffering, censoring any cries for international aid. Externally, Kim Jong-il portrayed an image of strength and resilience, yet internally, the nation simmered in turmoil. Even as television screens broadcasted lines of military parades and showcases of modern arsenals, whispers of the supreme leader's declining health swirled amongst the populace and foreign observers. His rare public appearances, skipping globally significant events like the 2008 Beijing Olympics, fueled speculations of illness. Yet the North Korean media, as if narrating a stage play, vigorously downplayed any concerns. Despite efforts to conceal reality, the inevitable came on December 17, 2011. The nation of North Korea, caught in a paradox of orchestrated grief and a surreal silence, was officially informed of Kim Jong-il's demise. The cause, they were told, was overexertion from his boundless dedication to the welfare of the nation.